Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 352. This episode of What's Right with Nick Wright is brought to you by Boost Mobile. A ton to do today. It is officially, at least for my purposes, football season. There is no real NBA news. This is the one kind of quiet time of the NBA calendar, which you know is here because people are like, yeah, we want to throw out there the LeBron James HGH stuff and just see if we get some level of engagement reaction. Like, that means there's no real NBA news. The only NBA news is supposedly Luka's Slovenian coach said Luka's signing an extension with the Lakers and had the contract details on it. I don't know that I can trust that translation. It's football season. From here, July means it's vacation and football season. Those are the two seasons it is. And it's also 100 Best Podcasts of All Time season. More on that in a moment, but my takeaway was, Damonza, you need to do more.
I was going to say I need to be better, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of that, straight to voicemail brought to you by our friends at Boost Mobile. Time releases the 100 Best Podcasts of All Time. More on that in a second. Stefon Diggs set down a little baby rescue puppy and then almost couldn't catch the puppy. I was worried Stefon was going to take a false step and hurt himself. And the Browns unveiled a new helmet. We're going to play a video for our YouTube audience. One of the videographers falls off the little boat where they're unveiling it. I think it is 50-50 whether he actually fell or whether
he was looking for his step. Buddy. You see his foot kind of look for it.
I know, but I also think it's possible they're like, sorry, here's what we need you to do today. We need to make sure this goes viral. You need to fall in the water. All right, let's get into the top 100 podcasts quickly because I'm joking about us being snubbed. I am not joking about two kind of indefensible snubs. And now obviously there has been reporting and it's been announced that Fox Sports, my primary employer, is partnering with Barstool Sports. I haven't really commented much on that. It's not really my business. And it's also, I think, whenever there's new shows, it means, shows that were there are no longer there. People lose their jobs. And so it's it's always a weird spot, even if you're excited for what something can be, that, people, there is some disappointment and obviously real lives affected. So I kind of stayed out of all of that. I am only even acknowledging it now because I think people might be like, oh, all of a sudden, Fox has to deal with Barstool and Nick is going to talk up Pardon My Take. That's not what's happening here. I'm just going to be totally fair, honest, and I think accurate here. Doing the top 100 podcasts of all time, having sports podcasts on there, and not having Pardon My Take on there means invalidates the list. You want to do the 10 best podcasts of all time, you can kind of leave out whoever you want because there's only 10. You want to do the 25 best podcasts of all time and only include one sports podcast. Then give it to Bill Simmons and then keep it moving. So be it. You're going to have 100 podcasts on a list and not have Pardon My Take on there. It means your list is not to be taken seriously. And again, because I must just be fair and honest, even though I have listened to 0 of these episodes, I am, get me in more of a private setting and ask me, hey, net positive or negative on the Republic as a whole, this podcast existing. What do you think? I'd probably have some spicy takes. With all that said, Joe Rogan's podcast not making the top 100 podcasts ever when it's maybe the single most successful podcast ever is lunacy. And it makes people think your list is just, and it's Time Magazine. I know Time Magazine isn't what it once was, but the brand is still strong. It's still Time Magazine. And to not, it would be as if you did the top 100 basketball players ever and you leave off Wilt. It's like, well, anybody that would get votes for if you did the best podcast ever. Pardon My Take would get a couple votes. Joe Rogan's podcast would get more than a couple votes. And if you're going to make a list, and it's not the best podcast ever, it's the 100 best podcasts ever, and you found room, and by the way, credit to them, because it is real journalism, you know, what do I call him? Not enemy. What do I call Pablo? Rival. My sworn rival. No, I won't elevate him to nemesis. But my credit to Pablo, because it's real journalism. It's affected some real change at the NFLPA, and it feels like his podcast got in right under the wire. Good for them. Seriously, and I mean that sincerely. And if you want to say Lebitard's show is ineligible because it's a radio show and not podcast only, fine. But you cannot have a top 100 podcast list and not include Pardon My Take and not include Joe Rogan's show. And I say that, and I'm kind of glad it's those two shows I'm focusing on, because one of those shows, in Pardon My Take, I've been on multiple times. I like both those guys. I think is awesome. The other show, in Joe Rogan's show, I've never listened to. I've never been on. I have no connection to. And like I said, I'm not really sure it's a net positive for the media ecosystem. But my opinion, I still, if I were to list the 100 great, I think there's some, what's a good sports example of this? I said Wilt before. No, that's not fair either. You've got to, I'm not even going to use any real examples because it gets too hairy. You've got to include guys even if you don't like what they say. Or even if you don't like what they represent, so to speak. If you're just trying to say the 100 greatest podcasts ever. You can't do the 50 greatest running backs in the history of the NFL and leave off O.J. Simpson. And again, I'm not comparing anyone on this list to an alleged double murderer. Well, right, Aaron Rodgers. That's a better example.
Top 100.
Yeah, that's an even better example. You can't, again, if you want to do a top 5 and be like, Aaron annoys me, Ty goes to Dan Marino, fine. Like, whatever. Like, but you just totally lose any credibility there. So, that just my 2 cents. I obviously did not actually expect us to make the podcast, but if they had seen that really heartfelt moment between me and Deanna sending off to camp, maybe we'd have gotten some votes. I don't know. Reminder, like, rate, subscribe, review. Have you written her a letter yet, Damonza?
I've not written her a letter yet. I'm going to do it today. I'm gonna. Oh, okay.
Don't worry. Your mom
I'll
said to me. Your mom
Go
said to me, "You don't have to express it. No. Don't. You don't have, just send it regular. It'll get there.
Like 20
I mean, if you do express it, then just do the regular like $9 2-day express, the red envelope one, not the overnight stamp $30 thing. The way you send me cards sometimes. It feels like a waste of money. Your mom said to me this morning, she was like, I need to write Deanna. And I said to her, I'm such a jerk. I was like, you haven't written her yet? And she was like, no, I know it's bad, but I haven't written her yet either. All right, reminder, like, rate, subscribe, review, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, all that. All right, we have semi-breaking news that is actually going to maybe not be breaking news, but let's get into it. Go ahead, Damonza.
So as we know, camp's been going on for a few days. We might already have a pretty bad injury in Justin Fields. He was carted off with a lower leg injury, and this is probably non-contact. So
here's the thing. So don't do the probably, and also please take that breaking off the screen, because and I should have given the producers a heads up. So now Aaron Glenn has come out and said it's a toe, and then the further reporting was sitting in the cart. And this is a problem every training camp. And I beg, And again, maybe it's toe injuries can be significant. I'm not acting like we know Justin Fields is going to be fine. I am saying this. NFL beat writers, we need precise language. We need the difference between carted off and rode a cart off. You follow me? Carted off implies, like in a football game in the regular season, when a guy suffers something horrific, they bring out the cart. He's either prone to a board, or if it's lower leg, leaning back, towel on his head, air cast, something, immobilized. Ride a cart means, I don't want to walk all the way back there. Can I hop on this golf cart next to the PR guy? And so the further details were Justin Fields was sitting in the front seat of the cart. They got to the facility. He limped off. Now, again, if you're a Jets fan, it's still not good news. I'm not saying it is. But everybody knows carted off connotates, oh my God, season over. Rode a cart off is very different. So we just need to be a little more precise with our language on it. I will say this. If he were, and obviously you hope he's not, if he were Damonza, like truly injured, that to me is an interesting Kirk Cousins destination. Like, we've all forgotten that Kirk Cousins just sitting out there available.
Yeah.
Like, I think Kirk Cousins is going to be somebody's starting quarterback this year. Now, the Jets might be like, we're not going to go from one old guy coming off an Achilles to another old guy coming off an Achilles. I understand, but it is the Jets, and I think that obviously Kirk would bring none of the other stuff, the baggage that Aaron brought. But again, PSA, and put this on our social feeds. Training camp beat reporters, we need to delineate between being carted off and riding a cart off. Carted off is you couldn't walk off if you wanted to, and we're terrified of what has happened. Riding a cart off can be a whole litany of possibilities, also including, I don't really want to walk. So again, because this happened to me once with, who was it? I think it was Chris Jones. Not with me personally, but it was some key Chiefs contributor. Week 1 of camp a few years ago. And I think it was Chris Jones. Chris Jones has been carted off at camp. I'm like, oh my God. And then I see the video, and he's sitting in the front seat, like, just talking to people. Just like riding. I'm like, well, this isn't carted off, but he was technically carted off. All right, speaking of the Chiefs, let's keep going.
So Mahomes has come out and said that he wants Kansas City to get back to that deep passing game. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I think for me, I got to be better at throwing the ball down the field. I mean, obviously, that we weren't good enough there. We've had success in prior years, but these last few years we haven't done that. And in order for our offense to be great, you have to be able to complete those passes. It opens up everything else. And so if teams are going to challenge us at the line of scrimmage, if teams are going to challenge us to throw the ball deep, we have to show that we can do that. And if we can do that, it first starts with me and giving guys chances. But if we can do that, I think it's going to really open up the offense and make us a better team in general.
So the combination of him saying that and Xavier Worthy's comments from a little bit ago, if they can't do it this year, is it time to sound the alarm? Is a little bit of a problem because it's clear that they want to do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That if they can't, so it's very interesting. So let me kind of go through the timeline of the Mahomes, what we on First Things First call light show, and the Mahomes eras, right? So obviously 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, it's just laser show, throwing deep, all this stuff. 2021 ends with overtime against the Bengals. Mahomes throws deep to Tyreek Hill, hits Tyreek in the hands on 3rd and long, and Tyreek pops it in the air. Bengals pick it off. Bengals go to the Super Bowl. Then Tyreek gets traded. 2022, with a Juju Smith-led receiving corps, along with, obviously, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes throws for more yards in a single season than any player in the history of the league. Is the first player to win league MVP and Super Bowl MVP in the same season since Kurt Warner, and the Chiefs win their second Super Bowl, scoring 38 points against the league's number 1 defense in the Super Bowl. Okay? That year, they were a prolific offense, but it was a lot of short stuff. It wasn't so much bombs because they didn't have the personnel, but the yardage and touchdowns and scoring was crazy, so nobody really paid attention to it. 2023, there is, and obviously, I don't know if I said this part, they trade Tyreek Hill, after 2021, and so the offense changes in that regard. 2023, the Chiefs have, their first bad 2 months of the Mahomes era. They lose 5 out of 8, I think it was. They have to play on the road. The receivers, set records for drops. And then, despite that, Mahomes plays a perfect postseason, culminating in an back-to-back drives in the Super Bowl at the end of regulation and then in overtime that are just surgical dink and dunk short passes up the field, resulting in the walk-off touchdown, right? Then last year happens. And last year's a little bit of everything. Beginning of the year, Damonza, Mahomes was just off. If you remember, it was like 5 games in a row where he threw a pick, but they weren't unlucky picks. They weren't, he was trying to do too much. It was like, where were you throwing it?
Right.
Like, what did you see that, it was very un-Mahomes, but they won all the games anyway. They went into last year saying, we're going to have, a legitimate receiving core again. They signed Hollywood Brown. They really liked what Rashee Rice was doing at the end of the year. They draft Xavier Worthy. And then by week 4, Hollywood Brown's been out, hasn't played for him yet. Rashee blows out his knee, and Xavier Worthy, God love him, but at that time of the year, if you remember, couldn't figure out where the out-of-bounds line was on the field. When they did go deep, Mahomes would throw it, he would catch it, and then he'd have a foot out of bounds or not get his feet in, whatever it is. So you had Mahomes struggling for the first time in his career of his own doing. You had the most injured receiving core in football, where they have to bring Juju back after he gets cut from the Patriots. You also have a rotation at your left tackle position and the Chiefs' worst tackle play of the Mahomes era. And then you also have, on top of all of it, this quest for a three-peat and this odd season where the defense kept, as long as the offense didn't kill him, and even when the offense did kill him, the defense kept him in every game, and then Mahomes was Mahomes late, and it seemed like he was just like, you know what? I don't want to, I can't trust the offensive line. All
Kelsey's
my receivers are
older.
hurt. Kelsey's getting older. Yeah, all of this, and I'm just going to dink and dunk. And I'm not going to take all of that. So it was a perfect storm of a boring offense for a 15-1 team. And that seemed, by the way, to change immediately come the playoffs.
Right.
When they put up big numbers against Houston and Buffalo, and then it all fell apart in the Super Bowl. So all of those things to me had to happen. The pressure of going for the three-peat, the rotation at left tackle, the wide receiver injuries, Mahomes, and again, fair's fair, I would imagine of Mahomes' entire career, the offseason where he was maybe, if we were to rank him from most dialed in to least, I would imagine the offseason after the back-to-back championships, nobody, everybody thought we were drawing dead, couldn't win on the road, and then I clipped everyone. And by the way, my best friend is now dating the world's most famous woman, and we're all partying together. You know what I mean? And maybe there was a little feeling of nothing could go worse than last year in 2023 for us. And we won the Super Bowl anyway. So all of that to me led to the offense that we saw. So I would think and I would hope that none of these things apply this year. So how dialed in will Mahomes be? Well, how dialed in has he been in the few seasons that haven't ended in massive success?
Cut his hair.
He cut his hair, but also 2018 lost in the playoffs. The next year came back, won league MVP. 2020 got the crap kicked out of him in the Super Bowl, came back and was awesome, and then had, that bad half against Cincinnati and at the end of the AFC Championship game, and came back in 2022 and had one of the greatest seasons any quarterback's ever had. So I think Mahomes will be dialed. I think the Chiefs getting Josh Simmons at pick 32 as a potential franchise left tackle is as big of an offseason move as any team made. Xavier Worthy came into his own at the end of the year. Hollywood Brown is now healthy. They will at some point have Rasheed back, and it feels like Kelsey should be a little sprier than last year. And I didn't even mention last year the Chiefs were down to their fourth string running back so quickly they had to bring back Kareem Hunt. So, barring a spate of injuries or me being wrong about Simmons, I say all that to say, yeah, if the offense is mediocre and boring again, then yeah, where would I sound the alarm? Probably the coordinator. Okay. Because I don't think anyone's going to think like, oh, Mahomes not good anymore. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that it was such a weird thing, Damonza, last year, because it would have been, the offense was not playing great. Mahomes was not playing his best. They had all these issues, but they had the best record in the league every single week of the season. So it would have kind of felt weird to be like, let's change it up significantly. You know what I mean? What they were doing was working, and they were peaking at the end of the year, and then it all came crashing down.
Big debate last
in
year.
the Super Bowl. Oh, say it again?
That was a big debate, like them playing all those close games. It was like, what's going on? But I mean, that because you said that you would put it on the coordinators. If you had to make an accountability pie on who was responsible, like on the deep game.
Yeah, so to be clear, I'm saying if it happens again, I would put it maybe on the coordinator so last year to me, the single biggest culprit was actually the tackle play. So that's because Mahomes just didn't, because people would say, the receivers got hurt, and that's true. But I've seen Mahomes when he has time throwing bombs to Justin Watson and Demarcus Robinson. So I would say the biggest slice goes to the tackle play, which is why they made a big investment in that, and their biggest offseason signing was Jalen Moore, and they drafted Josh Simmons in the first round. The second biggest reason would be the Rashee Rice injury and the other receiver injuries. The third biggest to me would be Mahomes not being as sharp as he wanted at the beginning of the year. And the fourth biggest would be just kind of the building pressure of the three-peat. By the way, This is a great example as to what I'm talking about. Damonza, tell the audience what Rappaport just said the Justin Fields injury is.
He's got a dislocated toe. It's not fractured, and it's also not his big toe, which is huge. I feel like it not being his big toe.
Yeah,
But
I agree. And so so much of this panic would have been removed simply by, say, rode a cart instead of carted off. Nobody thinks, when you say carted off, nobody thinks you have dislocated your fourth toe. Nobody thinks that.
There is still some recovery. Like, what is that, 2 weeks? Is it like a month?
I got to be honest with you, I have no idea. You could tell me he's back tomorrow. I have no idea. I'll tell you something else. I don't even know how you dislocate any toe other than the big toe
right?
or the pinky toe. Well, pinky toe too. You know what I mean? It would feel like you would have to be one on the end. Yeah. And I really don't know how. So I don't know. Maybe he got his foot stepped on in a really weird way. I'm not sure. Okay, whatever. Nothing says summer like long days, clutch plays, and firing off a few bets on the game, all with DraftKings Sportsbook. As the season heats up, so do the bats, and DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. Live betting, home run props, odds boosts, and more. Whether you're chasing dingers or jumping in mid-game, there's always action to be had. Never bet on baseball before? Easy. Pick a guy to go yard, hammer some live odds mid-game, or just ride with your squad and hope for the best. No spreadsheets, just vibes and dingers. Lines and odds are subject to change, but for this Thursday, you can get Jose Altuve, 2 or more hits at plus 180, or Jose Ramirez to hit a bomb at plus 320. Again, lines and odds are subject to change. Something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Wright. That's code Wright for new customers. Get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, Damonza, let's go to the team that beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Your guys. So Sirianni does not want to think of this year as going for a repeat. Jalen Hurts is also focused on the present. He won't even wear his Super Bowl ring. He's saying that moment is behind us. Now,
hold on, real quick, before we get to the other thing. What's your take on Jalen Hurts him refusing to put on the Super Bowl ring?
He sounds like Thanos or something in that quote, but yeah, I mean, he's put it on. He's worn it.
He says he hasn't.
He's worn it. I mean, he's definitely put the ring on.
He's saying he hasn't.
I mean, why not? Like, it's not.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe not wear it out, but like, I mean, he's.
Oh, no, of course, but like, put it on once, press the little button so those stupid wings come out. Like, I don't know. Like, whatever. All right, keep going.
So he is now in a one-sided debate with Cam Newton. What's your take on this whole situation?
Okay, so when I say one-sided, I mean he hasn't chimed in, but Cam has. So this is kind of the back and forth of it. And full disclosure again, I really like Cam. Cam was one of me betting on Cam was pre-What's Right show betting on the Jags, where I just couldn't, every week I was like, you know what line I like? I think the Panthers are underrated or undervalued. I also think Cam had the single greatest college season of all time, and I think that 15-1 year in the pros was one of the greatest individual accomplishments any player's ever had, given his supporting cast. So Cam didn't have Jalen in his top 10 quarterbacks. And then people got mad at him. And Cam, it's another version of the Charles Barkley or bus driver or bus rider discussion is what we're having here. And I do find these two players, a Cam Newton versus Jalen Hurts debate, fascinating, just because it really reveals a lot about what you value. Because I don't think there is definitively, Damonza, a wrong answer, right? But what I think is interesting is I am certain to my core that Jalen Hurts could not have gotten that Panthers team to 15 wins in the Super Bowl. I don't think that's unfair. I don't think that is me taking a shot. I don't think there's 10 quarterbacks, 12 quarterbacks in NFL history that necessarily could have gotten that Panthers team to have that season. With that said, I also am not sure that Cam could have had this sustained success that Jalen has had with the Eagles. And so, obviously, these are all hypotheticals.
They very similar players. Like, I mean, I feel like Cam Newton is a little bit more of an athletic freak than Jalen Hurts is. But
yeah, I mean, he's just so huge, and he was faster. Now, Cam didn't have a lot of years of high-level passing numbers, but neither does Jalen.
Right.
It's really interesting. I also think, I mean, again, the year they went 15-1, his receivers were Ted Ginn, Jericho Contry, Devin Funchess, and Corey Brown. And he won league MVP. And obviously, Greg Olsen was an awesome tight end, but that, it's his receiving core. I think Cam looks at it as, man, put me on that type of team, and we're the greatest team ever. And I understand that line of thinking. Again, Jalen's not commenting on this, but if I were Jalen, I would be like, well, I was on that team, and we were pretty good. We won the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game like 100-40. We won 13 games in a row to finish the year if you exclude the game that I got hurt. Like, what more did you want from us from a team perspective? And so I understand. Now, I think that there has been a weird media, I don't know if overcorrection is the right word. There has been, to me, there's been some patronizing, almost is the word I would use, in the discussion of Jalen. So, like, I saw Orlovsky's video about Jalen Hurts. Now, Orlovsky's video, he is not calling Jalen Hurts the best quarterback in football, to be clear. But his caption of it, and this isn't like a newspaper where, you don't write your own headlines. Let me see if I can find this. Hold on. And I'm trying to find, sorry, I just clicked on it. And do you guys still have my audio? Am I still good? Because I just clicked on something. Okay, good. Sorry. Let me find the exact caption. Because he wasn't calling him the best quarterback in football. But the caption was, really don't care where you rank Hurts. He sits at 1. So if somebody was like, wait, are you saying he's the best quarterback in football? Like that, again, if you watch the video, he's not saying that. But there is, to me, there has been an interesting, what's the right word? An interesting shift in how we have talked about quarterbacks the last decade or so when it comes to Jalen specifically, which is usually if people think quarterback's good, the team is amazing, then we lead with the team as the driving force. And that's what I think Cam is getting at. I think with Jalen, I think understandably, it's because some of his best games ever have been these monster Super Bowl performances. There has been a reclassification of, well, maybe Jalen is way better than his numbers suggest, and he simply is kind of suppressing his own individual accolades for team success, which I understand that line of thinking, but it does kind of contradict his own teammate from the end of last year. It's like, hey, we got to get better in the passing game. And it kind of goes against what we saw when the Eagles were unbelievable in 2022. They won the Super Bowl in 2024. And the one dip, 2023, was a year that they really tried to open up the passing game more. And so this is one of the fun things to me about kind of sports debate is this isn't really defined. Like, it's not provable, at least in the short term. In the here and now, we don't know what Jalen would look like if he played for the 2015 Panthers. And we don't know what Cam would look like if he had played for the 2024 Eagles. I do think that there is an element of, even for a lot of Jalen's biggest supporters, if you were to just ask and be like, hey, who's the better quarterback? Cam Newton or Jalen Hurts? I think most people are like, well, Cam Newton. And if the question is why or what's your evidence, I honestly think the answer is he's just better. And sometimes, like, I know that can feel like a cop-out, but it does feel real here. And where I will, and I know it might sound like, I don't know, I don't usually go back and listen to the pods. But I might go back and listen to this segment because there's a possibility I'm not making a lot of sense. But I am, I find this topic fascinating because it is, to me, layered and nuanced. Because, like I said, if you asked me who was better, Cam or Jalen, my snap answer is like, obviously it's Cam. But with that said, if you asked me, am I certain that Cam would be better for this Eagles team? I don't know that I would say yes. I think when you have a team as stacked as the current Eagles, having a quarterback who doesn't seem that focused on his individual accolades or success could really play in your favor. And I think Jalen deserves huge credit for that.
Yeah, well, Cam be willing to do the tush push, man? I don't, sorry.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably a bad example because Cam was arguably the greatest short yardage player in NFL history. Now, they wouldn't do a tush push. They just did regular either quarterback power, jump over the line, or quarterback sneak. You know what I mean? So it was different. But I am really interested because one day in Jalen's career, he's not going, you're not going to have Saquon, AJ, Devontae. You're not going to have this amazing supporting cast. And there will be a time where the Eagles are in a position where it's like, listen, man, our defense isn't, what we had hoped. We don't have this great running game. If we're going to win, we're going to need you to do it, the old school quarterback style, drop back 30 sometimes and throw the ball. I think there is a real question over whether or not he can do that. And so this is my ultimate end point on this. And I am definitely at times guilty of this, which is why probably I'm a little circular in my reasoning here. We give guys a ton of credit for doing more with less. The LeBron dragging the 07 Cavs to the finals. You know, that type of thing. Like, look at, you had so little help, look at what you did. We don't always do a good enough job of recognizing just because you can do more with less doesn't mean you can do the most with a ton. And Jalen has proven he can do the most with this great situation. And not everybody can do that. And so, and this is something I'd be interested at some point in talking to Cam about. I also really screwed up because Cam, I hope he wouldn't get mad at me saying this. I don't think he would. Cam reached out to me a couple months ago about him and I doing something together. Did I tell you this, Damonza? This is a very funny story. So Cam and I briefly linked at the Super Bowl, just like walking past each other. I walked over and introduced myself. He knew me and then said something incredibly kind to me. Like shockingly kind about kind of the way I broadcast and formulate arguments and about his broadcasting. I don't want to share all that, but it was disarmingly kind.
Right. Unexpected.
And then a few months later, he reached out to me. And what I will say is Cam texts in that same font he Instagrams. That like wingdings weird font. Like if you ever seen a Cam Instagram, it's like all the letters are weird. He texts in that font, which can be like I didn't have his number, but I saw the text and I was like, this has to be Cam Newton. Then I confirmed it was Cam Newton. That he wanted he and I to do something together. And I was like, 100%. Would love to. Like, he's in Atlanta. It's hard for me to get down to Atlanta, but I thought I might be down in Atlanta for Baseball All-Star. It's like, absolutely. So there's two funny elements to this story. First one is, he's like, all right, great. Who does your scheduling? I'll have my person reach out and we can set something up. I was like, Cam, you're talking to the person who does my scheduling. I am not quite as fancy as you, buddy. I don't have a scheduler. One day maybe, but the person who does my scheduling is me. But yeah, Damonza, look in the doc real quick and look at Cam's Instagram caption with Kevin Hart. Wow.
I have seen that before.
Yeah.
What the heck?
So
okay.
So this is really, and so this is embarrassing.
Does your schedule?
So I was like, let's just talk. I don't know. I think I said Saturday afternoon or whatever it was. It's like, all right, cool. And about 20 minutes before we were supposed to talk is when I got in that car wreck. And I text him and I was like, hey man, I just wrecked my car. My daughter's in the car, my dog's in the car. I was like, I can't. I was like, let me hit you back. And he's like, all right, no problem. And I haven't. Yeah. I will. I will.
Maybe
and someone, if anybody's watching this, send this to Cam. Tell him I apologize. It's a bad job by me. All right, let's go to the Dolphins for a minute.
Tua isn't exactly welcoming Tyreek back with open arms after Tyreek did that little thing at the end of 2024. Tyreek took some accountability in saying, I need to be better as a leader. I feel like he probably should have said as a star player. But with things already off to a bad start, how do you see Miami's season going?
I want to believe in Miami a little bit. I think that they are, I like the team that used to be overvalued that now I think people have gone too far in the other direction on. I tend to like those teams. And I really like the Jalen Ramsey, Minka Fitzpatrick trade. I think they got better there. Tyreek, I think, will be better this year. So and I think that last playoff spot in the AFC should be pretty open. So there are some reasons that I kind of was leaning, maybe I'll believe in the Dolphins as a playoff team this year, especially because, speaking of the hot seats, I think, Mike McDaniel, the GM, I think they know we got to start putting some pelts on the wall. You know what I mean? We got to get back on the right track. This is where you might think I'm being unfair. So Tua's comments yesterday were basically, speaking for me and for the team. He wasn't speaking for himself. He's like, Tyreek, what Tyreek did is not something that you just say my bad about and, we're all good. Like, you got to, work on yourself. You got to earn back trust. I'm paraphrasing, but he said all this publicly to the media. So here's where, the exact quote is, when you say something like that, you don't just come back with my bad. You got to work that relationship up. He's working on himself. I didn't love that being a public comment from Tua. So here's what I'll say. And Damonza, you can tell me.
Tyreek said it in public?
No. That's why I thought you were going to say I'm being unfair. So just hear me out on this. Okay? What Tyreek did was way out of line.
Yeah.
There is no excusing it. He was a bad teammate. He was immature. It was bad. He's also Tyreek Hill.
He's like the receiver. Dexter argument? Oh, okay.
He's a receiver. He's a kind of known at times knucklehead. He just this week he was like, I talked with my dad and I thought it was really important that this offseason I just do football and family stuff. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure he's in a legitimate beef with iShowSpeed and about the racing and so Tyreek is just a superstar.
He's a jock, dude.
Yeah. Like a bit of a doofus.
He's a
bit of a doofus and got a lot of stuff, okay? It does not excuse what he said, but we're also, I don't think, you're not getting in the Tyreek Hill business for maturity, professionalism, and leadership. You're getting in the Tyreek Hill business because he's freaking awesome, right? Tua's your quarterback, and Tua and Tyreek have to work for the team to work. So I wouldn't care at all if at the first day of training camp, Tua got up in front of the team and was like, Tyreek, you betrayed all of us. You have a lot of, making up to do. That was wrong. Read him the riot act privately. But publicly, I think the answer has to be either, listen, I think Tyreek's addressed that. Any feelings I have on that, I'm going to keep between me and Tyreek and me and the team. But, we know that he and I got to get back to what we were 2 years ago for this team to have a chance, and I believe we're going to do that. You either do that or, and Tua might not be comfortable with this because I know he's like a deeply religious guy, you just flat lie. Oh, no, Tyreek's Tyreek. We're all good. We knew it was emotional right after the season. Nobody cared. I think those are your two best options. Rather than telling the media, no, everyone was really bothered by that, and actually we're still working on it. Because then it continues, I'm going to need an update on that. You know what I mean? And so, again, Tyreek put Tua in a terrible position.
And he was flustered throughout that. It seemed like he seemed pretty nervous. I don't want to say nervous, but constantly walking back stuff and thinking super hard about the stuff he was saying. Oh, you're talking about Tyreek at the end of the year? No, I'm talking about Tua in the presser. I felt like he was sweating, but
Yeah, well, yeah, when he was Miami right off practice field, but yes, I agree. I agree with you on that regard. But I also thought Tyreek, when he gave this initial thing right after the playoff loss, didn't exactly know what he was trying to say, and then was like, I'm out. I just think that there is sometimes when you are the face of an organization and you get put in bad spots by people, and publicly, you got to just present a united front. That's that's all that I'm, or you can go Peyton Manning about, was it Mike Vanderjagt? The kicker. So you'll love this, Damonza, because you have no recollection of this whatsoever. Mike Vanderjagt, who's a pretty good kicker for the Colts in the aughts, went on some radio show after another Colts playoff loss and took shots at Peyton.
The kicker?
And then, yeah, the kicker. And then Peyton was asked about it at the Pro Bowl, like during a sideline interview. And Peyton's like, yeah, I mean, I really didn't expect that I was going to get asked about our idiot kicker getting all liquored up and popping off at the mouth on the radio. I'll deal with that if he's still a teammate in the future. Like, this guy's gone. This guy's gone. I'm not dealing with him. I have no interest in him. And so that's the other option. The other option is if Tua would have been like, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem because I don't think Tyreek's going to be on the team. Like, that's the nuclear option. But if he's going to be on the team, then you gotta sometimes clean up somebody else's mess. That's the only, even if it's not fair.
This tied in with the first topic. It sounds like the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill kind of miss each other.
Well, I told you guys a year ago that I'm very excited for Tyreek Hill wearing a Chiefs uniform in 2026. Because that's, I think, going to happen. It's not going to happen this year. But that, I think, is going to happen.
It's looking pretty likely.
Maybe that's enough to get Kelsey to come back for one more year. Mm-hmm. A little final Tyreek
bringing back
Kelsey
the band
right off in the sunset together. Yeah, I think that's absolutely on the board. All right, this is a message that applies to 99% of you listening right now, because that's how many of you can be covered by fast and reliable service on the Boost mobile network with 99% nationwide coverage. And if you don't think you deserve a deal, listen up. You've got another thing coming. Right now, when you switch to Boost Mobile, you can get iPhone 15 with Dynamic Island and a 48-megapixel main camera for $99.99. That's $99.99 for iPhone 15 on a nationwide 5G network. This may only apply to 99% of you, but I'm 100% positive Boost Mobile just gave all of us a really freaking good deal. In-store offer, $35 device setup fee may apply, requires credit qualification, ID verification, and activation on a $60 plan. Taxes extra, 5G speeds not available in all areas. All right, Damonza, let's jump to the Cowboys and Micah. Actually, no, we can do the Von Miller, Jayden Daniels thing. Let's do that here. The thing we were supposed to do here. We're just going to have to go fast through these because I actually have a meeting with our Blue Duck boss, Gabe Goodwin. He's in New York City.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir.
I'm seeing Gabe for the first time in a while, so we'll speed through these.
Okay, so Commander's new addition, Von Miller, was singing some high praises to his new quarterback, Jayden Daniels. We're going to get out the quote board here. Yeah. He said, "You can't leave Josh Allen and just go anywhere. Josh Allen was MVP of the league last year. I feel like Jayden Daniels has MVP potential as well." My question to you is, what's more likely for Jayden, a sophomore slump or an MVP caliber season?
I mean, this is unfair. The more likely is a bit of a sophomore slump. I mean, that more likely is similar to what CJ went through last year, where you have this unbelievable rookie year. Some people are like, you're going to go win league MVP, and instead you kind of taper or maybe slightly regress, but people still feel great about you. That's more likely. Now, listen, Mahomes won MVP his second year as a starter. Lamar won MVP his second year as a no. Mahomes won MVP his first year as a starter, second year in the league. Lamar won MVP his first year starting all, the full season. Burrow went to the Super Bowl his second year as a starter. Russell Wilson won the Super Bowl second year as a starter. So it certainly can be done. But I think Washington had too many unbelievable wins last year for me to think they're going to be quite as good this year. There were too many. Part of what made Jayden great last year was how amazing he was in the clutch and how great they were in those close games. Not just the Hail Mary, other stuff. And usually that corrects a bit. I also worry about their defense a fair amount. And the McLaurin holdout for the time being is concerning. So it's not like it's off the board that Jayden wins league MVP. But I wouldn't have him. I think it's more likely that he's slightly worse than he was last year than it is that he's better.
I mean, because better is Super Bowl.
Well,
I
better
feel like
for the team is Super Bowl, but better for, MVP can just be if they win 12 games and, he puts up these crazy numbers.
Right.
I obviously I think Mahomes is a great bet for MVP. I don't know. I mean, Mahomes at 7-1 feels like that you should just bet that every year. I mean, that's what Cousin Sal talks about, and he's right. Like, if you just bet Mahomes at 7-1 every year, he's going to win more than 1 in 7. I wonder, is there like a dark horse MVP that I think is realistic? Baker's not a bad one. Baker 25-1, thanks to our friends at DraftKings. Baker, when I think the Bucks could be good, Baker at 25-1 is not a bad one. I don't think Herbert's going to have the numbers. I don't think the Bengals are going to be good enough.
Oh, you're a guy.
Josh and Lamar, I don't think the Bears are going to be. You really got to win like 12 games. I don't know that I'd love to pick Caleb, but I think that's probably a bridge too far.
Okay.
Josh and Lamar are good bets every year. Where's my guy Stafford?
I think that's a little crazy. They did just say Stafford. I think he's like 25-1 or something like that.
35-1. 35-1. That I like that one. What's crazy?
Well, you were like Caleb Williams' first year in the NFL. You're like he's going to go to the Super Bowl. His second year MVP is a bridge too far. I thought.
Well, first of all, it's two different things.
I mean,
individual success and then
isn't one of them harder?
Well, yes and no. Here's the thing. I had a lot of misses related to the Bears last year. But the one that didn't get any attention was I drastically overrated their defense. And they didn't spend resources getting the defense better this year. And so because of that, I just think it's going to be hard for them to have, a gaudy record this year, even if Caleb is excellent. I do think Caleb will one day win a league MVP. I don't think, he wouldn't be my bet this year. Stafford at 35-1 is a fun one. I think that's pretty fair value. All right, let's go to Micah and the Cowboys.
So Micah showed up to camp without a new deal, but he's still practicing. What a solid guy, man. But Trey Hendrickson is in Florida while he waits to get his deal finalized or an extension. So last year we saw Brandon Ayuk hold in, and we saw how that went. What do you think the best way to go about these types of situations is? To get your money, obviously.
I think hold in is probably the smartest. And I don't know that Micah's doing that. Because Micah's practicing, but he had back tightness. I think he's kind of taking it day by day. The new CBA rules with the $50,000 a day fine is just brutal. I think personally, I think Mike is handling this really, really well.
Yeah.
I think Jerry is handling it, I think, poorly. I think Micah, whoever's giving Micah advice on the messaging and how he's doing this, and like, I'm here for my teammates, I want to be a leader, all this stuff, I think is really smart. And I think some of the way the Cowboys, have done this is just so silly. They're obviously, like, we all know TJ Watt just got $108 million guaranteed, $41 million a year. So Micah is going to get $110 million guaranteed and $42 million a year. We all know it. And the fact that there have been more than a dozen guys from Micah's draft class to get contract extensions, and he's not one of them, is just mortifying. Here's the other thing for the Cowboys that I just think is indicative, and I tried to explain this on TV yesterday, but I did a kind of ham-fisted job about it. And it's the way that... Hold on. Your mom just walked in here. What's up, babe? Okay. Well, okay. I'll see you. I love you, baby. I let Deanna come in one time to say goodbye to camp, and now your mom's just like peering in. So I tried to explain this on the show yesterday, and I didn't do a very good job of it. So Trayvon Diggs, the Cowboys just clawed back $500,000 from him for not working out with the team enough in the offseason. And he's upset about it. And it's truly just a matter of perspective. So the way most contracts work, Damonza, let's just say you make, an NFL player, you make $10 million a year. They might put in, and you get an extra $500,000 if you complete the full offseason workout program. Like Lamar has given up nearly $1 million in workout bonuses because he's not doing like the full offseason over the last few years with Baltimore. So so most teams pay you $10 million, give you an extra $500,000 for working out. The Cowboys structure these as, we're paying you $10.5 million. But if you don't work out, we're taking the $500,000 back. Those are effectively, Damonza, identical results. I work out all off season with you, I get $10.5 million. I don't work out all off season with you, I get $10 million. But they psychologically feel differently. Do you understand what I mean? As opposed to, I am opting against earning this bonus rather than you're taking from me.
Right.
And so Trayvon's pissed. And this is like this isn't just conjecture that psychologically it lands differently. It's proven. Like I'm going to give this is one of the things I think I screwed up on the TV show yesterday. But this is a real proven study, which is, if you walk up to someone on the street, Damonza, and you hand them $50 and say, that's yours. And then say, but if you want, you hand it to them, they put it in their pocket. Would you like to flip a coin for $50? Meaning you get it right, now you get 100, you get it wrong, you got to give me that back. The vast majority of people say no. No. I'll take the 50 you just gave me. But if you walk up to people on the street and say, hey, what would you rather do right now? Flip a coin? And if you win, I give you $100, or I'll just give you $50. The vast majority of people will flip the coin. Even though those are identical things, because a weird thing happens once it's in your pocket. You know what? So even though those are the exact same offer, just the sequence of when you get the money changes how you view it. And the Cowboys, that's, in my opinion, what they screwed up with Trayvon.
Right.
All right, there's a lot of other stuff that go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. It was a small detail.
I was going to say there's a lot of other stuff we were going to get to today, including whether or not Cam Ward is the least talked about number one overall pick ever. And my answer to that question is yes, because we're actually going to skip that topic as well. We do need to tell you, though, about one of our favorite segments, Boost on the Rise. Time for On the Rise, presented by Boost Mobile, breaking down players who found a way to stand apart in NBA Summer League, just like Boost's superior network and 5G towers. And I am throwing in there a guy who has bounced around G League, NBA, has tried to find his footing, and is now also one of the all-time Summer League record holders for three-pointers, and that's Cole Swider. So is this in part because he spent a year at Syracuse? Sure. But it's also a very interesting story. He's undrafted in 2022, and here's what he's done. Played for the Lakers, then played for the South Bay Lakers, then played for the Heat, then played for the Sioux Falls Skyforce, then played for the Pistons, then played for the Motor City Cruise. Those are their G League teams. Then played for the South Bay Lakers again, then played for the Raptors. This summer was on the Lakers Summer League team, and, in Summer League, hit 6 threes, 4 threes, 4 threes, 2 threes, 2 threes, for a total of 18 threes this year at Summer League. He's the all-time Summer League leader in three-pointers. And I just wonder if there might be a bad team somewhere that's like, you know what? Let's give this 26-year-old 6'8" three-point shooter a try and see if he can turn into something. He obviously has gotten a bunch of tries, as evidenced by the fact that he was undrafted 4 years ago and is still bouncing around. He has played a grand total in his career of 35 NBA games across 3 years. But
it's dedication.
It's dedication. He just and he doesn't want to go to Europe. Yeah. Like a lot of those guys would just be like, all right, I'm just going to go play in Europe. He wants to make the NBA. I thought he handled himself well in Summer League. And size and shooting are at such a premium. Maybe he gets a shot somewhere. I don't think it'll be with the Lakers, but maybe he gets a shot somewhere. That is Boost on the Rise, thanks to our friends at Boost Mobile. Reminder to everyone, like, rate, subscribe, review the pod. We greatly appreciate when you do that. Couple quick NBA or questions from the audience, Damonza, before we move on.
Edward says, simple thought, if the Eagles could win by throwing the ball, they will win by throwing the ball. What do you think?
I don't, here's the thing. I understand that argument, but it's not like they struggled last year winning. So I would agree with you if they were, they had one of the greatest running seasons in the history of the league last year. So it's just kind of an unfair, in my opinion, way to look at it. And so I don't know. My gut says they are limited throwing the ball, but it's just not fair to kill them for it because they won the Super Bowl doing it. And it's not like they won the Super Bowl 13-10. They were right. The offense was absolutely annihilating people. All right, next.
Just Mans asks, do you think Hill could get traded at the deadline if Miami is bad? He's excited about it too.
I think it's unlikely but possible. Cap-wise, they could trade him and it doesn't kill him. So I think it is unlikely, but it is possible. Let's get to the other two ones quickly.
Scott says, what rookie quarterback is the best this season, and does JJ count?
I would count JJ because he missed the entirety of last year, and JJ would be my pick. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? I would think JJ will have the best rookie season of it, but I didn't love this rookie quarterback class, but I think JJ will have the best year. All right, last.
Cameron asks, Nick, if Geno Smith is as good as you think he is, then why did Seattle get rid of him? Is John Schneider just a moron?
I don't think John Schneider's a moron, but I think Seattle got worse at quarterback. I just don't think Sam Darnold's better than Geno Smith. I thought that was a big mistake they made this offseason flatly. All right, like, rate, subscribe, review. Check out Pod on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all that great stuff. Thank you to Boost, to DraftKings, to Volume, to Blue Duck, to everyone involved. I will see you guys on Tuesday. What's right?